All right, everyone. A few things I want to do here to wrap this up, and then we'll be all set for this week and the recipe site. So first thing is I kind of want to deal with this grouping here. So in our markup, we have an H2 and a P tag that kind of make up this top part. And when we initially did this markup, that made the most sense because it was simple. But because of our new layout and because of how we want to describe our document has changed a little bit, I want to make some changes to this part to make it a little more semantically correct. And not only will it make it more semantically correct, but it'll help us on the back end with styling. It'll allow us to use only one CSS rule to take care of changing the color on both of those because they both need to be white, as we can't see the other one right now. So first things first, I want to introduce the H group element. And what the H group element does is kind of just what it sounds like. It groups headings together, and that's exactly what we want to do here. And in fact, I want to make this an H3 and save. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to go back into our CSS, and this H2, we can get rid of that. But what we want to do is make an H group and give that a color of white. So now both of those should flip over. And then what we can do is, actually I should have kept, I want to add a little bit of margin below the Cswd house seasoning, so we can go margin, let's try 10 pixels. That's good. And then the other thing we can do with this H group is we can give it a bottom margin, which will push down the it will push down the content below so that it fits right. And we can actually change that. And I think this could actually be, there we go. That looks pretty good. So I did a few things kind of rapid fire right there. So basically what we did is we changed our heading a little bit from that H2 and P tag to an H group setting, an H group element that wrapped around an H2 and an H3. So then what we did is we came into our CSS and we made this H group rule that will style everything that falls into that section. And we also added some H2 and H3 rules for our overall site. So that pretty much wraps up our recipe site for this week. So as you can see, just by thinking about your HTML and CSS a little bit differently and applying some background and some simple CSS rules, we can really make nice looking web pages without having to to spend a lot of energy in Photoshop. This is a relatively simple Photoshop mock-up, and in fact you could do a site like this without Photoshop, and it allows us to really get our design fleshed out in HTML as quickly as possible. And so that is the recipe site for this week.